Welcome, everyone, to the XMod Pro December 11th user group meeting. This is a holiday special, as you might be able to tell from my hat here. This is a combination of the November and December meeting, just because the holidays here fall in tough times, busy times. We appreciate all you XModders showing up. We have a couple of great speakers today. We have Patrick Ryan from Reflect Media Group and Ryan Moore from More Creative Company, and Kelly will tell you a little more about that. Before we get started, I also wanted to share with you we have a group chat available, so if you have questions during the presentation, please click on that and you'll see a bar on the left side of your screen if you hover over it, and you can enter your group chat questions and they will try to answer those during their talk. Also, there's a Q&A. I guess it's a Q&A one that you actually want to click on if you have your questions. Group chat is kind of chatting among each other. I will try to keep an eye on both of those and make sure that the presenter or Kelly can answer those questions for you, but if you enter them in the Q&A section, they should show up during the video presentation for when people follow, and they'll be able to see the answer or know when the answer is being presented as well. And today is also our gift giveaway episode, and we have a couple gifts that will be given away during the user group meeting. So if you want to join the live user group meeting, I will be posting the link so you can join in and view. You'll see a few people that are also on the live chat, and I'll post that link here on I guess that's the chat, group chat area. So then you can click on the link and join us live. So thank you, and here's Kelly Ford to tell you a little more about what's going to happen during our meeting today.
Thank you, Melinda. You might want to turn your mic off. One of the joys of being in the same room and your speaker. All right, we're good. We always play it by the here, especially because the holidays we've been drinking too much eggnog, and we're not really all that with it, right? We just want to give away stuff, but we actually have to make this worth your while too. So we've got a couple of great presentations for you today. We have Ryan Moore of More Creative. He'll be talking, I believe, he can correct me if I'm wrong, but as I recall, he's going to be talking about doing exports with feeds. And Patrick Ryan will be doing something, maybe shaving with all that hair I see on his camera. But Patrick will be doing something, I think, from his book, which has been getting a lot of good reviews. So we'll talk more about that. And also, you might notice that we have a Santa hat-clad Roy Clark from Pine Point Productions. He's going to be joining us. He's also been following. He's been using XMod Pro for quite a long time, and has been following along in Patrick's books too. So I'm here. I've invited him so that he can peg Patrick with a lot of really hard questions about the book and critique him very heavily, just so Patrick doesn't get too much of a big head. As you can see, he's already sprouted antlers. Anyway, as Melinda mentioned, this is our holiday show, and as you can see, I am bedecked in the festive spirit. And actually, my favorite sign is over here to over my left shoulder, and that's usually what happens around the holidays. But try to be happy this holiday season and don't get your tinsel in a tangle. I'm surprised unfortunately you can't see my other favorite little USB powered thing here I picked up at Target the other day. Doesn't show up very well, but it's a little fiber optic tree that you can plug into your USB port. So if you want to be festive at the office, that's a good cheap way to do it. Just plugs right into your USB port. And I think I just broke it. No, it's not really the most stable thing in the world. Anyway, let's bring everybody on. Ryan, you want to unmute, and Roy and Patrick, and we'll just say hi here a little bit.
Hello.
So how are things in North Carolina, Ryan, this holiday season?
As far as client projects and activities are going, I have been telling everyone, just talking about the end of the year, that it seems like if last year things started to return to normal around the holiday season, and we were seeing projects and people be more like they were 5 and 6 years ago, I think that now things are way better than normal. And all the agencies and marketing firms and folks that we work with, they've all seen a rise. So for me, when I talk to people at Christmas parties and we talk business, everyone seems to be very happy and very excited about things. So it's a lot better of a Christmas than it was, let's say, 4 years ago.
Okay, that's very good. Patrick, how about things in Kentucky?
First of all, it's really hard for me to be serious with this on my face, and it's kind of hard to talk as well. But I'll try to stick with it. Things are good here, Kelly. It's aside from working in, I've actually got 2 offices. I thought I'd just share with everyone. If you've noticed that I am in a basement, it's because of my brand new daughter who just turned 11 months. Likes to terrorize me when I'm upstairs. So this is my this is my temporary office. I got to get this beard right. But things are going good. It's exciting. Reflect Media Group is growing substantially, and the Discover XMod Pro book has been very well received. I mean, it's I'm getting emails on it every day and new signups on it every day. So very exciting. But yeah, things are good here, man. Things are good.
Good. I bet it's going to be even more fun having a little one to share the holiday spirit with.
Absolutely.
Up in cold Maine. How are things up there?
Hey, pretty good. I don't know. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Very
can.
well.
Okay, good. All right. Maybe I'm the one making the noise. I've got a blasting heater going in my office here. Maybe that's it. No, it's going well. It's rainy today, cold. It's Maine, but hey, that's the way it is. But I can agree with Ryan, and things have been picking up, I think, and so with business here as well. So I'm excited, and I also will comment, Patrick, now's my chance to jump in and congratulate you on a great book. It's very inspiring. I've enjoyed it. And I'm looking forward to the chapters as they come, and boy, the intro chapter really got me because that's exactly kind of where I'm a few years behind all of you as far as catching up to DNN and all that sort of stuff. So, but anyway, really great job. Congratulations.
Thank you, Roy. I really appreciate it, man.
Sure.
Let me start this off because over the past year, really, and this is kind of a it's not our year-end show, but it's kind of our year-end show. There's been a lot of talk about .NET Nuke and the future of the platform. I thought I'd just take this opportunity to, unscripted, to ask you guys in terms of how things have been going for you this year in terms of .NET Nuke projects, where you see things going in the out years. Where do you see the status of the platform right now? I'll start with you, Ryan.
That's a really good segue into some of the stuff that was talked over a fair amount, not officially, but conversation in the hallways and conversation in between sessions at the recent DNNCon. I'm always one of the folks who's getting out to almost every convention that I can get to, at least the ones here that are here in the States. And having been to DNN Worlds previously and the previous DNN Cons and in the Charlotte area when we hosted Southern Fried, there was a certain sense of hubbub going around, but at the last 2 that were in Florida, or at least the first one, a couple years back, there was more of a concern or a discussion because there wasn't so much going on blogs and in chat systems and in things with people talking about .NET Nuke. And so I heard a lot of people asking the question, you know, is .NET Nuke still as popular as it used to be? Is it still growing or is it contracting? And I have not seen anything of the sort, but everyone was talking about it. And I think that perhaps the visibility of talking and the dispersal of everybody being in a lot of different places was one of the things that was seen or felt. And so this year at DNNCon, with that same question asked, everyone was upbeat. And everyone was talking about how the consolidation back in the DNN Corp main website of the blogs and of people putting things in the articles there, and the buildup of all of that seems to make it more visible and more present, all of the things that everyone is doing in all these different locations. So for us, it's our primary development tool and platform that we choose for every single project, so there's no diminish for us. And I think from DNNCon, the story was from everyone that really there's more visibility of what's going on and what people are doing because of some of the changes they've made in corporate. But then also, talking with Will Stroll and talking with other folks, one of the things that they were talking about was that perhaps from a development standpoint, new developers weren't as excited about getting into DNN if it wasn't MVC model. And if everything is MVC, why wasn't DNN MVC? So some of the changes that are going to happen in 2015, getting into that track of being MVC based is going to hopefully encourage more younger developers to get into to DNN. And so that's one of the things that for the future is going to be a big impact on 2015, I think.
Okay. Roy, how do you feel about the .NUC and up there in Maine, in your area?
Well, I can echo a lot. It's nice to hear what you just said, Ryan, because it's always a question that comes up, and with I'm always struggling with platforms in the sense of getting new work where people will bring over their WordPress site and want us to work on it, so to speak, or want to upgrade their site, and some Joomla, but I've always been excited about DNN, and I'm rooting for it, but again, when you see it as far as in themes and represented everywhere, you don't see the DNN logo hardly at all. Obviously you all see the Joomla, Drupal, WordPress, and now most of my clients could care less what platform I use because they barely know anything as far as that's concerned. But there are some clients that use WordPress and are familiar with the control panel. So I kind of have to deal with that. But I'll tell you, I think DNN's control panel, I think it blows WordPress away. I'm not, having just played around with WordPress, I'm not that, I'm a DNN fan.
But
Roy, Roy, two things there for that, for 2015 to watch out for. Number one, be sure to watch out for the DNN Sharp product that is called Sharp Look, because it completely replaces the DNN control panel and the editing managing buttons from the ground up, and it is a completely different interface. I don't mean window dressing, I mean a different concept in how you use it. And every time we've shown it at user group meetings and when they showed it at DNN Con, people are standing up and clapping and cheering and hooping and hollering. It's incredible what this thing does, just little things here and there. So watch for that, but then also the core management design for 2015 of what's going to come out in what they call DNN Next, is code name for right now, is much more mirroring the style of that vertical bar that really was a Facebook related thing, but it's also what you see in WordPress, and now DNN is going to have that sometime around the 8 level. And it's not that we're going to go to a front end, back end. DNN is still always going to be a browse to edit system versus WordPress, but they're trying to go toe to toe in that. One of the things that they talked about was that the marketing companies and the advertising directors, those are the people who are now in charge of websites for the next decade, and that it changed from what it was in the past. And if it was previously the IT developer or director, and then it was the developers in charge of websites, that the future is the marketing people in charge of websites. And if marketing people know and love WordPress, then it's our fault for not showing them how bad WordPress is, or how limiting it is. And so they're at least trying to get it so that the interface is more presentable to those marketing type people who currently love WordPress, and we'll see if over the next decade they get educated.
Well, that would be great. So what are you saying, Ryan? You're saying that the DNN platform will have the, like you said, the vertical, the left-hand side vertical, as opposed to the horizontal across the top type of interface?
That is correct. If you take a look now at the Evoke level and you look at some of the videos and presentations that they'll give, you'll see that some of the editing things are already on that side of the screen, and they slide out, and that is in progress to come to the Community Edition for everything.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
Patrick, what about you?
Let me unmute here. Okay. Well, the first thing, I think I want to, I believe what has hurt DNN is the reliance on vendors. And what I mean by that is when you have a web development company, I can take my own personal experience from this, and it's exciting when you first get into DNN. And first of all, let me say that I've not been able to build any website as quickly as I can, like with DNN. I mean, how quickly you can spin up a site, throw some modules onto the page, purchase something, install it, and literally within hours and sometimes minutes, you've got a working website. So it is my stack of choice, and it's my platform of choice by far. But what hurt me in the beginning was, yeah, I can purchase this module and purchase this module, but then later on down the road, my client calls me and they say, oh man, there's a big error on the page, and I go look and look, it's a licensing error because the vendor's licensing server is down, or there's an upgrade error, or DNN has got a critical upgrade and I've got to upgrade it, and now I can't upgrade a particular module with it because it's not compatible. Or all these are different things that I've seen complained about throughout the forums. Where did this guy go? Where did that guy go? And that actually is what's the drive behind this book, and I think that DNN is going to actually grow from this point. It's going to get more popular, and that's again, why I love XMod Pro, for example. And in this book, I'm not just going to teach how to use the basics, but there's going to be advanced add-on chapters where you learn how to program your own custom form actions and template tags to where you don't have to rely on those things. So with that said, where do I see it going? I see it, I'm a little biased, I guess. I see the future of DNN with bringing more awareness to XMod Pro and more awareness to custom development and bringing people into that circle more and more. So I see it going in a good direction, but I still think the major pain points are shaky developers, coming and going, and as well as DNN Corp made some what I would call bad decisions and brought too much corporation into the mix. But I believe the community of the DNN world kind of fought back against that, and they are listening, and they are appreciating the comments overall and moving in a good direction. I'm interested in what you were saying, Ryan. I'm curious to see, and I've read a little bit about it, the new model view controller type infrastructure, and supposedly they're going to be rebuilding this thing from the ground up, and so who knows what that's going to do to all the module developers that are out there, or what they need to rebuild, or how they need to reformulate their stuff. But hey, I've used WordPress, I've used Joomla, I've had to, Ryan and I both, we've worked on a project together, an Umbraco site, and they're all just horrible. I mean, I just I think that we really need, DNN really needs to do something from a marketing perspective. I mean, granted, hey, we are in a niche here because we're in the Microsoft world, and I don't even like Microsoft, but here I am using it on a regular basis. But we're in the Microsoft world, and that's a paid world. It's not all free stuff, and that's another reason that like WordPress gets such hype. I mean, it's horrible. It's a blog on steroids, and it's an absolute nightmare to work with. But hey, that's what people are using. They can spin up a very quick Linux server, free stuff. Everything's free and open source. But there's also a lot of negative effects of that as well. I mean, you're dealing with a massive community in that open source world, and then along with that comes a lot of confusion, where we do have a niche and it's more streamlined in what we do and how we do it. So I don't know. I love DNN, and I've got a love-hate relationship with it, but I continue to use it. I love it, and I'll continue. Ryan, you're laughing at me. You know exactly how I feel. But it's matter of fact, what I'm going to be showing you guys today is a perfect example of my love-hate relationship with DNN. But I don't know. With hope that resonated somewhat out there. I don't see it going anywhere. I see it being around for a very long time. And it is the choice of IT professionals. I mean, they don't want to mess with that WordPress and PHP garbage, but I can ramble on for a little while, but that's all I got, man. That's it.
Well, that's interesting because one of the you bring up a substantive point, the difference between open source software and paid software. I realize that .NNDev obviously is open source, but it's built on Windows and Windows Server and SQL Server, and those are all paid. So basically, DNN's origin was a way to present something as open source, but from Microsoft's perspective, but sell more licenses to Windows Server, and SQL Server. So I don't consider it truly open source in the way that I would consider Linux or WordPress or some of the others as open source. And one of the problems, I've done a lot of work outside DNN as well as, of course, inside DNN. And one of the problems you find in the open source community writ large is that, yes, it's all free, and yes, there are lots of people writing lots of blogs and lots of articles, and lots of people writing, add-ons and little programs that do this and do that. It becomes kind of a nightmare to keep all of that in check. Everybody just went bonkers when we had the Heartbleed vulnerability in OpenSSL. None of the Microsoft sites had that problem because they were using Microsoft's proprietary SSL mechanisms. I'm sorry, Ryan?
And there are standards. There are rules that everyone plays by that are agreed upon rules.
Yeah, well, I mean, you get that in the open source community as well. But the thing is that when you are trying to learn a technology or troubleshoot a technology, most likely, the thing in Linux is that the idea is that you put together lots of really little programs that do only one thing but do it well. And in most cases that works really well, but in other cases things break down and you get version mismatches, and you have to do a lot of reading and a lot of thought and planning in order to get things working right. And then when things break down, you end up spinning your wheels quite a bit because you don't have anybody to talk to. You can post on a forum, you can try to put a pull request or an issue on GitHub, but your ability to get something solved right now is very, very limited. So you do need to have commercial-backed operation behind you in order to make those things, to fix those problems or to keep track of things for you, because you just don't have enough time to deal with that. That's the problem that I've run into. And one of the nice things about .NNDev, and I would say XMod Pro, is that you have that organization behind you. You have, from our perspective, you've got a 10-plus year organization that's been doing this and is always readily available to help you work through problems. And we end up working through problems that are completely unrelated to XMod Pro. So you just don't get that when you're dealing in the open source community writ large, I think. You guys agree? Disagree?
No, I agree. I think, yeah, I've jumped into the open source world, and Kelly, I've played around with different platforms and different technologies, and just posting a question, you get 500 different answers, and so it's very confusing, and it's very hard to follow, and it's changes on a regular basis. So yeah, that's
you end up paying for it some way,
yeah.
in some way, shape, or form down the road. Free software is not free typically.
And not to bash WordPress specifically, because there's certainly the Joomla marketplace. I started out doing Joomla sites years and years and years ago before I really ran into .NNDev.
That explains a lot, Ryan.
But one of the things about the WordPress environment and the development of things in WordPress is that to modify it, because everything is a blog post, and if you want to use it for real estate listings, suddenly the title is your address, and the author is your builder, and you're bending a blog platform and Frankensteining it to do a bunch of stuff together. But it's the Wild West of development. You build and enhance it by hacking it, and when that's your only way to really modify it, it creates a situation where all of the different things don't play well together. They create problems for each other many times, and you don't have that in a properly managed open source community like .NET. And so when I get to explaining it and talking with ad agencies, where that's normally where someone will come to me and say, well, why aren't we building this in WordPress? Or 2 years after a site's already been done, they'll come back and say, why didn't we do this in WordPress originally? I will talk about these things with people and explain and show them how when you build and create modules inside of .NET Nuke, they don't break other modules, and you don't have that assurance when you're dealing with other types of systems.
Okay, well, that was a good discussion. We are probably going to run over an hour today, just so you know. But I wanted to kind of work through that because there's been a lot of talk in the DNN community over the past year, and it's good to hear that things are looking up. Things have been growing steadily for XMod Pro as well. And as you guys get more .NET Nuke projects, that's a good sign because you guys are on the front lines in terms of developing for clients and getting project requests. So I hope I know that having Joe Brinkman take over in his new capacity has been a big help, and a lot of people applaud that move. So I think things have been moving forward since Joe took over.
Yeah, certainly from a personal standpoint, he is the most approachable person at shows and presentations and coming out to talk to user groups. And so when I saw that announcement, I was super excited about having Joe because really he feels like he's one of us doing things and getting in there and discussing things. And I think he's done a great job, and I've enjoyed seeing what he's talking about and what he's putting out there.
Yeah, great. Okay, well, while we have the camera on you, Ryan, are you ready do a little presentation?
Sure thing. This is something that I had talked about a couple of sessions back and said, well, what are some ideas of things that I could present? And I thought of something that was topical because a client was asking about it at the same time, and so I thought that it would be a good little segment that I could do for, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes to just talk about feeds and remind people about some of the different things that you can do with XMod Pro feeds, and kind of talk a little bit about the things that are in the module kit currently that are examples that you can get out of making feeds, but specifically hone in on talking about generating Word documents, generating CSV spreadsheets. There are a couple of tips there that I might mention, but and Excel spreadsheets or XML Excel versus table-based XML. I'll talk about that in a second for Excel. But Word documents are the primary thing that several clients have asked us to generate, and they can be a little bit complex to work with. And so I thought I might show you a couple of examples and specifically show you what it looks like especially when you embed an image inside of a Word document and how that works out for generating those in feeds. It's been just a little while. Kelly, remind me, how do I end up sharing my screen in this?
If you hover towards the left-hand side of your screen, there's a green screen with an arrow on it.
Got it. All right. And best to share main screen or additional screens. Let's see what I can work on here. Let's share screen 2.
It's usually best to show just the window. That will allow you to get a bigger version of whatever you're trying to show for people.
I see. Okay. 2 seconds. I'll make sure I choose the right one because I've broken it out as being the same one that the Google Hangout was in.
I feel like I should play some game show music or something.
The Christmas music is what you need to put in there.
Don't have any. Shoot. Roy, sing for us.
No, you don't want to hear me sing.
No, you're a good musician, though. You can play for us.
Well, thank you, but not a singer.
Okay.
All right, here we go.
Here we go. Essentially, introduction to feeds, if you don't know or understand what feeds are, is that inside of XMod Pro you have templates, you have forms. Your templates are for displaying data. Your forms are generally for editing data. A feed is, for the most part, just like a template, with the exception that it runs and exists outside of the .NET Nuke environment. So when you call a feed, you do not have the header, you do not have the view state, you don't have any of the other things that exist inside of the page of .NET Nuke, you are calling raw just the content of your template. And if you think about that, that allows you to have a header and a footer and an item template where you repeat and loop through a series of different items and spit that directly out to the screen or through some different options as a file download. It allows you to make dynamic reports, make dynamic files, and make a range of dynamic things. Everyone still hear me okay? Bob? Yeah, you're nodding your head at least. All right, good. So one of the things that we did when Kelly first released feeds as a feature, as a possibility, was we put together a module kit very quickly to help show people how to use feeds. So we created this demo feed kit, and one of the things that I'll do here this December is I'll update it with a few more file types that clients have asked me for. And you know, Melinda, Patrick, everybody, if anybody else has other types of files that you're interested in seeing examples of put into the feed kit, let me know and I'll build them. But essentially some that we've created that are not here already. Yeah, you got one?
Can I jump in?
Go, Roy. What you got?
And Kelly knows what I'm going to say.
What's that?
Any chance of PDF? Can that be generated, or is that external libraries to do that?
No, sir. External libraries, and let me come back to that in just a couple seconds.
Okay.
And I'll kind of outline why here, because this is a good point to do it in. When you are spitting out things, you know, the current feed kit, when you install it, it gives you an example of all of these types of feeds. So a CSV is very straightforward. You're going to have a comma-separated line, a line break, and then it's going to repeat over and over again. Your only option or question is whether you want to have a header row that gives you the column names, and you're done. It's pretty simple. And whether that technically is a CSV or tab separated or semicolon separated, you can do all kinds of different things. Excel files, I'll talk about a little bit more in just a second, but they can be very tricky. So one of the things that we've done is we've created two different versions here that you can start playing with. The most forgiving and the easiest to work with is a table-based Excel export, because Excel allows you to use standard HTML tables. So we're talking table, TR, TD, those types of tags, to lay out an Excel document. You have a special header on it, and then you double-click on the file, and it opens in Excel, and it's correct. It doesn't have the ability to do formulas. It doesn't have the ability to do more complex things that you would normally expect inside of Excel. So sometimes people need a more robust Excel. And for that, Microsoft created an XML-based template for you to create both Excel files and Word documents. And while that is very robust, and you can call all kinds of different things, it is not forgiving. The smallest thing out of line, the smallest thing missed, and I don't just mean like missing closing an end tag, but I mean some of the syntax about the way they want to have things and the order they want it. You get that wrong, and your Excel file that was working a second ago doesn't work now. And that's part of what I'm going to talk about with Word docs as an example in a second. So then we also have two different versions of Word doc type things. We have a traditional doc in the XML format, but then we also have an RTF, a rich text file, and that again is the most forgiving and the easiest to work with. We then have some other things like a printer-friendly page that's just straight HTML that you might use in a pop-up. We have traditional RSS feeds, which is just the raw XML properly formatted. We have a few other types of XML-based things like a media feed that you normally use with videos and video rotators, and then a few different, playlist type things. A few different XML examples. Some of the ones that I've been asked to generate that are not in this feed list currently are things like vCard. We generate vCards now, and we have an example of that that we can add in. Google Calendar and calendar list or calendar invite type items have been asked for, and we have those. A good JSON example, even though it's just string and content formatting, people have asked, can I use JSON, or can I use feeds to make JSON? Yeah, of course you can. So we have a JSON example. So if anyone else has other text file or text-based items that they want to have us add in, we'll make up some more and put up the descriptions of how you use them. Now, a PDF is a proprietary format. You have to have licensing for that. many times we will install a PDF generator into a .NET environment, into an ASP.NET PDF generator, and then you can call that. And I will often marry together having a feed generate the HTML and then passing that HTML to the ASP PDF handler to then render that as a PDF. And sometimes when you use the right kind of PDF handler, like maybe either one from Web SuperGoo or that's the ABC PDF, or a couple of different ones. There's I think it's called PDF Flight. A couple of different ones, but there are ones that will also generate images for you, so you can pass together a bunch of images or a bunch of HTML, and they'll turn them into JPEGs or PNGs for you. So generating those types of things that are not that are not raw text can be difficult. So there are a lot of ways you can get to a PDF that make it easy, but you have to install some other things. There's also a standalone module. Trying to remember who it's by, but it's called Save As PDF, and you install it on a page, and as long as their server can hit your page publicly, they'll generate a PDF and then serve it up for you. Very nice, very quick and easy to put in place, but it does have to be a publicly accessible page without secure data on it. That's the only rub on that one. So maybe another line we can talk more about PDFs and talk about ways to get PDF actions working. But so here with the CSV, or I'm sorry, with the feeds. Yeah, Kelly, you were gonna say something? Nope, just opening your mouth. All right, so you're talking about these. I want to show you and talk a little bit about one that was done, and I realize that's the mistake in sharing just the screen, because I'm going to be switching things back and forth. So let me switch back instead to sharing the whole of screen 2. If I need to, I'll zoom in and out of things. But this is a client project that we did here just recently. The setup of this particular project is that they have an administration screen where they have records of items that are being passed in. Records of items that are being passed in with forms. There's a lot of XMod Pro that's going on back and forth to post some data. But the important part to show you here is that we kind of have an expanded collapse area in these in the data that's displayed, and as part of these records, we give the administrator of this company's website, we give the administrator the ability to dynamically generate these Word documents, because they need to print out or email or send off these things as Word documents. And what they were doing previously was going to a Word template and then copying and pasting or typing in the stuff that was already in their database or already online. And we said, guys, you don't need to do that. It's so simple. If you're just changing the name and some information from the database, why don't we generate these Word documents for you on the fly? And so that's what we're doing here. And if I take a look at something like a copy or cover letter, and I click to generate it, you'll see that it generates a file that's called copy or cover docx.xml. By having that pattern of docx.xml, it is an XML file. And if we look at it in the folder structure over here, it doesn't have an icon to it. It is an XML file. But when you double-click to open it, that file is going to open in Microsoft Word because it sees it as a doc, docx. So here, although I'm still getting used to it, is Word 2013. So you can see that this dynamic doc was generated. It had a batch of general content in the middle of it. It had some information. More importantly, it has a logo in the middle of it. And we're going to talk about that logo in just a second. And then it finishes off with some general information. So the only things that are actually data-driven out of this are the regarding, because it's a case number, the date of birth of this particular thing, and then the social security number for this particular thing. So it's got some sensitive data to it, but those are the only things that come in as far as the database is concerned, what XMod Pro is sticking into this. All the rest of this is the same every single time, and by generating this, it saves them time for what they're doing. So quickly jumping back over to to our code to jump into this, I'm going to talk about how you make this Word document as an XML file, so that then you can work on it very quickly inside of your feeds. So if I take a look back at this one and I go ahead and edit this page, if I go ahead and edit this page, we can see, the structure of what we have going on here as an XMod Pro template. We call this Order Manager, and we're simply listing off a series of links to feeds. You can tell it's a feed because it has that link to the desktop modules, XMod Pro feeds URL, and then we're passing in which specific feed this particular one is. And if I look at the copier cover, I can see that this is called, SLS doc copier cover. Let's go take a look at that feed and see what it's made out of. So I'm heading over to the XMod Pro control panel, and I'm going to head over to the feeds section. Oh, nuts. Give me 2 seconds. This website wasn't designed by us, and it has a skin in place that has its own jQuery being called. And because of that, it interferes sometimes with the XMod Pro control panel. So I have a separate page that I go to try and get where I've changed some things. Okay, so we have a lot of feeds that are going on in this site. Partially, we've also done backup copies of these things. But if I just go to the copier cover to take a look at it, we can jump into what this feed looks like and what it does to generate the content that is on this particular feed. And if you look at it, there's not a tremendous amount to this feed, but we want to take a look at it. So just to get it full screen and talk about it in a way that I can zoom in and out, I'm going to put it into what is my favorite text editor that's called Sublime. And I'm going to put this in place. One of the benefits of Sublime, if you're not familiar with it, is that you get a preview over on the right-hand side, and it makes it easy to jump up and down inside of content. Let me break apart this feed very quickly.
Stop real quick, if I may. Is that view state that I see there in your code?
No, that is not view state. You want to make it a second guess?
I saw you scroll past it.
Yeah. You want to make a second guess? What is it?
As an image?
Yes, sir. It is an image.
Hey, okay.
It is insanely long, and that's one of the things is that people ask me, they see in our examples how you can generate a Word document, but they're trying to get to images, and they're trying to link to images that are online, and although that can be done, it means that the person has to be online connected, otherwise that image won't load and Word won't show it correctly. So embedding images is what people really want to do, and that's the main trick I'm going to show you here today.
Okay.
Also, I'm going to just change my color scheme, make it a little bit easier for some folks to read if they're not zoomed in. So I'm going to go to what is Eiffel right here. Makes it, I don't know, a little bit brighter to read and to take a look at. Main parts to notice. On the feed, there's nothing special here. Main thing is that on our content type, we are doing an MS Word content type. We have our list data source in which we are using a stored procedure, and we are just getting some content out of the database. There's nothing special going on here. We do not have a header. We are doing everything inside of the item template, and we, from that point on, are just loading the XML that we know is going to generate this Word document, and we finish it right here at the end of all of that with the finishing tag for Word document. And then we pick up our normal XMod Pro for the end of the item template, the footer, and the feed. So where do you get the magic for all the rest of this content in the middle? That's the main thing that I wanted to kind of show people. I'm going to stop highlighting it because it'll take me forever to scroll through. We just take this XML and we stick into it in the appropriate place. Sometimes it's hard to find or it takes a little while to get to, but we stick into it our tokens for data that we're getting out of the database, like Social Security number, the claimant name, a normal XMod Pro format tag for the date of birth, and then an XMod Pro select so we can do a switch case statement on showing some different data on their stuff. Regardless, that's all straightforward XMod Pro. The question is how do you generate this XML and what do you do with it? So let's go over to another Word doc here real quick, and I'm just going to open up a test one, which, let's just start a new one. So I'm opening up a new Word doc here, and I'm just going to put in some content. Two seconds, and we'll make it have a little bit of something special to it. So we've got a Word document here with some bullet points. There's nothing else special going on in this. The secret is that when you have your Word document all designed and formatted the exact way you want it to be, don't think that you're going to work inside of XMod Pro and change formatting or change colors. You can, but that's a recipe for missing one small tag or one small way that Word wants it, and you're going to break it. So do editing of Word stuff inside of Word to get it the way you want it first. Then come over to Save As, and inside of Save As, it looks a little differently in Windows or in Word 2013, but once you get used to it, it's the same thing when you get to finally this screen. The file type that you're going to choose is not a normal docx. You're going to go down to what was called the Word 2003 XML document. There's also Word XML document, and it is newer and it is more finicky. By going to the original format that they outlined in 2003, you get the cleanest XML that's the easiest to work with. You take that and you say that I'm going to save this as test1 XML, and right now I'm just going to put it in my my downloads folder. Piece of cake. So once we've saved that inside of Word, nothing changes. We're just working inside of this thing. Notice that in Word it says that we're in compatibility mode. If I go fetch that document now, we have test1 XML. I bring test1 XML over to Sublime, and you can see that we have all of that Word junk. We have everything in here. It's not quite as large as that other one, but inside of this we have the word test, so that we can see some tags and some things that you can read through. The WT is the bracket that goes around things, so it's very, very much like XML, very much like Word or HTML content in that you can pick through and find things, so that you can find your bullet lists. But it's not as reasonable to expect that you're going to quickly and easily be able to make edits and changes. The real trick there, that is the kind of the end of my presentation of what you're doing to get images into this Word doc, is exactly what we were looking at a second ago. We go back into this. We decide that we're going to grab an image, and we're going to put it in our Word document, so that we have the fantastic Will Riker #1 right there. Inside of our document, I go ahead and save this. It is still in that test XML, so it's still inside of this this XML format. Now you see that our XML has all of our XML in it, but we have that image right here. So that's the secret to getting an image stored into a Word document that you're going to have in a feed that you generate inside of your XMod Pro. I'll be glad to kind of talk a little bit more about how that all came together, or talk more, but being conscious of the fact that we're going over our hour, that's where I can end it. You work on your feed, you get it set up the way you want for the data, you come over to Word, you generate your XML, you bring that XML and you put it back inside of XMod Pro, and it's at that point that you can put in your tokens, or you can work around with it.
Okay, let's say that you want to, let's say that it's data bound and you want to put like a first name in the document you just created. Where would you put it?
So
like put it in a list item or something.
Yeah, exactly. In this particular example, what I did to help make things a little bit easier to work with, I might have done things, to prepare this, because really I wasn't even working on our own things. I was working on stuff that was given to us by a client because they've been using it for years. So they've already done things to make that Word document look, look formatted however they want to have it. You get all of that done, and in your Word document, I literally took this and I just did a little bit of something like this with exclamation points to help myself see where this item was going to be. You know, I did something like this. I would save. I would come back into my XML, which gets refreshed, and I would look for name. Name here. Let's find it. Might need to pull it back in again. Come on, name here. Where is name here? Anyways, that's my trick. I would find it. I've got my exclamation points here. I've got aim here, and I've got an N. Some pretty good examples of how Word is breaking things apart and you know, and doing things. You're all familiar with how Word can sometimes be difficult to work with. When you look at the code, you can see what it's doing and why it might have generated that. To put it all together, I could probably safely do something like this, but it's anybody's guess to whether or not that's going to mess up the Word document. Just test often, but you know, to answer your question, I would take that and then put in whatever my data token is when I put it into my XMod Pro feed.
Okay, so really the best practice would be, I mean, what you're seeing there is application of the various styling things that you've done in the Word document. So best practice, if you're just trying to do like a almost like a form letter, a merge, is to simply just type in the plain text where you need it, and then do a search for that. Maybe have some special characters.
Yes, that's correct.
Who would identify it as being a good technique. You get a lot of clients that want, you know, Word docs generated, dynamically generated, and most of the time they are, if they're going to be dynamically generated, they're almost certainly, probably 99% of the time, going to be form type of letters or documents that really you just need to replace tokens. So that's a great way. You don't have to worry about learning the Word XML. You can just simply use Word for what it's good at, and then use XMod Pro for what it's good at, just by sticking in the tokens.
That's a beautiful synopsis. I agree wholeheartedly.
All right, excellent. Thank you, Ryan.
Yep, enjoy that.
All right, looks like we are. Yes, we've wound up our hour already. So Patrick, sorry, goodbye. No. Since we are on the internets, we can go longer. And if you need to, if you're watching and you want to break, go do something. That's fine. You can always come back and watch the video at a later time. So we'll just move on, and you can fast forward past my rambling even. I'm going to introduce Patrick now. And Patrick, what do you got going for us today?
Well, certainly nothing as cool as what Ryan showed. But it's a pretty cool trick that, for whatever reason, took me a long time to figure out. And after I did so, I felt like a complete idiot. But I'm gonna show you guys something that I use all the time. Let me share my screen here. Let's see. Ryan, that was really cool, man. I enjoyed that. Let's see. Share.
Good deal. Thank you.
Okay, am I good? You guys see my screen?
Yep.
All right, so I'm just going to create a dummy page real quick. And I believe this will resonate quite well with the viewers. And it's this thing right here, this horrible, horrible enemy of mine that has been such for a very long time, and that is the HTML module. So here's what I would do over time. So when I first started getting into DNN, you know, I would create content directly in here, create some more content, and then I would just do something. And I don't know if I can reproduce the issue here, but it would end up all out of whack and messed up. And that's your, you know, your famous rich text editor issue. And then you go into the HTML. Let me do something a little more little more obvious. Let's see. Gosh, see, I haven't used this thing in so long, and that's the point of my presentation. I'm not sure. There we go. So it generates some really ugly stuff, and a larger amount of code in there would definitely show you, but I think you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. And that is this, how you have to deal with this HTML module. Even if working in the source view, you're switching back and forth, it'll change it. It's just a really big pain and gets in the way. And then you end up having to go to your, where is it? Your HTML editor manager here to try to get it to behave. And then you've got all this stuff. And it's like, oh my gosh, man, how do I deal? I see Roy, he knows exactly what I'm talking about. So I've got all this garbage in here. And granted, it is good, and I use it for clients, and I'm like, hey, if you can use Microsoft Word, then you can manage the content on your page. But for me personally, I don't use this at all, ever, not at all, ever anymore for any of my projects, and I haven't used it for a very long time. And this is why. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this thing.
Just as a quick intro of some other good news, Kelly introduced me a few months back to the CK editor as being a really solid replacement to the core default .NET HTML editor. We're obviously going to learn another way to replace it, but do know that the CK editor, Kelly, is now going to be standard in DNN 7 sometime in 2015, and will be standard to begin with in DNN 8.
Well, it would be nice if they would just listen to me in the first place, right?
Yep.
Yeah. All right, so, and now that's good news. I had heard about that, Ryan, and it's definitely much better than what we've been using. But I'm going to drop an XMod Pro module onto this page, and I'm going to go to my templates. And this is so ridiculously easy. It's just...
Patrick, could you maybe zoom in a little bit for people who have smaller screens?
There we go. Is that better?
Yep.
Yes, thanks.
Okay, I'm just going to click Save, and I'm going to give my template a name of a test. And here's the cool part. Here's the magic of this. I'm going to just delete absolutely everything in there. And click Save. Let's go back to my page, and now I will configure this to my test. So for a very long time I thought, hey, you know what, XMod Pro, it's data bound, I need data, and no, I don't. I can strictly use this as a view. So now if I go into here, and for example, let's see, let's just, and this is part of, as you learn HTML and you learn how to do certain things, this just is wonderful. And then you have access to all of your field tokens, or just your tokens. You've got your profile tokens. You can use your select case, like if they're in a role, or if they're not in a role, and so on. So I don't need this to be data bound as far as a as far as a list item template. I can do anything I want to just directly in here. So if you've got a XMod select, and for example a case, compare type, role, operator, let's say does not equal, registered users.
Yep.
So anyway, very, very, very cool. So you can use all kinds of stuff in here. You can use the
so Patrick, to make a synopsis as elegant as the one Kelly made for me, I might not be able to do, but what you're showing us here is a wonderful trick that I have never thought of either, which is simply using your templates without the rest of other list connections, data connections, to be an HTML editor that will leave your stuff exactly the heck the way you put it.
Absolutely. And
That's
what's so aggravating with the HTML module. And then you can, also keep in mind that this is not saved in the database. You're
Right.
not having to worry about, you drop an HTML module onto a page, and then you have to clone that module or display this module on all pages. Well, you can reuse your templates wherever you want to. And it's just really, really cool. So I could have an actual XMod template in here, and then outside of that template tag, I could just use just regular HTML. And as you learn HTML, and I mean, you can even, up here, you can add a script block. So you've got script block, and use a head script and add custom styles, attach style sheets, whatever you want to do. So, matter of fact, this is pretty cool. This is the monster site here, Local Living Ads, which you guys have seen before. But there is not one HTML module on this website anywhere. and I honestly, I don't use them at all. And the only time I would use them is for a client that just has, like just something on the page where I would want them to be able to edit it. But even in most cases, I create a back-end management system for them with XMod Pro to where they can manage content. Because they do like to break things. They'll go in and destroy things, and they think it looks great, but no, it doesn't. And so I use XMod Pro a lot for that as well, to control what they can change and what they can't change.
Patrick, I had not had as simple or clean an epiphany as what you just showed us before, but in training sessions when we train developers in how to work with XMod Pro and what to do with it, I had shown or explained to people a similar level of thing, or a sister to what you just described, which is to remind developers that are more familiar with doing things in .NET, perhaps people who would have thought about building a .NET module to do some basic function, but they're getting to know XMod Pro. One of the things is that within reason, you are able to draw raw .NET code as well inside of your template just like you put in just straight HTML without a data source involved. You can put raw .NET in there. So I have had some of our developers use it to maybe have a simple button that generates a text file on the server, or do some other very, very basic .NET actions.
Yeah, that's right. Matter of fact, if you look, you go into your file system and take a look at these. These are views. I mean, these are the ASCII files, and they're views. So yeah, you can put your own custom stuff in there. And traditional model development, when you'd create a view and then edit mode and all that kind of stuff, that's what you're dealing with. So it's just really cool. It's been helpful for me. And before I forget, when you guys were talking about PDFs, I'm about 50% done. I started creating not only a form action but a template tag to work with the WKTOHTML to PDF library, and that will generate PDFs as well. But it'll need to be installed on the server, so you would install the WebKit HTML to PDF, and then you'll be able to use the form action and template tag to generate PDFs based on form submissions, generate PDFs based on a feed, and pretty much however else you need to use it. But the book's got me pretty busy, so I'm trying to juggle all these things all at the same time. But that's it for my trick. That's my magic trick.
That's really excellent. Actually, I wanted to add on to that, that you can take your approach and expand it even to a larger degree. The most recent project that I'm working on, I've actually used XMod Pro throughout the project, but I've used it actually I use it where it is appropriate for this particular project. I use it for registration. I use it for certain forms, and I use it for certain data displays because it is just much quicker to do it that way. But there's a significant section of the application that the client was very specific about. And so what I've done is I've built an entire mobile application inside of .NET Nuke, and I'm using XMod Pro to bootstrap it. So there's not a lot of XMod Pro inside this particular part of the application, except it is used to kickstart the entire backbone-based application. So it can go beyond just being an HTML editor. It can get you out of a lot of crazy scenarios you might find yourself in when trying to marry some of the more modern techniques with .NET Nuke, which can many times get in the way. So I can attest that it's a great great technique. Thanks, Patrick.
You're welcome. Thank
Kelly,
you.
we're doing some similar things to get into not only AngularJS all over the place, but some of the FAME.OS stuff for mobile, really neat mobile actions, and we're doing the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it provides a nice bridge, I think, into the modern stuff. You still run into problems if you're dealing with .NET Nuke, because it can get in the way. But I've been able to do things like backbone routing, which I'm sure you can do in Angular as well. I mean, the libraries provide for it and actually kind of rely on the JavaScript-based routing in order to give it a web app feel. But you can do that. You can set that up in .NET Nuke so that a particular page goes to your home page, which has your XMod Pro module on it, that then loads up your application. We're doing some advanced stuff using require.js and deployment services, and it works really, really well. So if your clients are demanding some of these newer technologies and they want actual web apps that you don't have to worry about SEO or spiders crawling them, but actually use them as applications, much like you would a desktop application, then you can still use .NET Nuke where you're familiar and rely on the security infrastructure that .NET Nuke has placed in there, and rely on it pages for that site or that application. But then you can just plop an XMod Pro module on the page and use that to bootstrap the rest of your application and go from there. Melinda, you're about to pop in with a question. Did you have something you wanted to say?
Well, Hutch said that Patrick's workaround of the HTML module was brilliant.
Yeah.
He's really like that.
Thank you, Hutch.
We also saw Todd Smith said it's really nice not to have to deal with Visual Studio. I'm hearing myself.
Yeah, well, actually, turn your mic on and I'll turn mine off.
I'm done.
Okay, bad timing on my part. All right, so thanks, Todd. Thanks, Hutch. Hopefully you're still watching because we have a couple of giveaways. I know that we have one. We're going to give away a full license to XMod Pro. That would be a freebie worth $150 if you are still watching. I know we've gone on a long time, so we might not have the live people here, but if you are, go ahead and give us your email address in the chat window, if you can do that to prove that you're here, and we'll see what other things we could give away. Ryan, you have something you wanted to give away?
Unmute. Yes, I was saying that for what it's worth, if any of the developers out there have taken a look at the different custom controls and module kits that we have that we release underneath of the More Creative name, you can find them on the store. You can find them in the add-on section on DNNDev. You can also find them on modules.morecreative.com. We'll give away one free one of those. That's $125 value. But it's up to you. Take a look, see what ones are out there, and whichever one you're interested in most will not only get you that license, but then we'll also help install it for you on an XMod Pro instance so that you can see how to call this custom control.
All right. Thanks, Ryan. Sounds like a great deal. Patrick, I don't want to put you on the spot, but did you have something you wanted to contribute to this?
You do want to put me on the spot, and you just did. But yeah, I think I'll do the exact same thing Ryan did. Just look through the products I have in the store and pick one that you want, and we'll do that the same way.
Okay, great. So that in the Christmas or the holiday spirit, we'll give away 3 gifts, and I think because we have a lot of viewers in other countries, we're going to do this. Watch the video on either our Google Plus page or on the YouTube page when it is up. Make sure you are logged in with your Google Plus name or your YouTube name, and then we will we'll choose 3 random winners, and then we will direct message you with the winner. So you'll have to do several things here. Watch the video, watch it all the way through, otherwise you won't hear these instructions. And then make sure you're logged in so that we can see that you viewed the video. and then pay attention to your inbox for your account, and we will direct message you if you have won something, and you'll get your choice of either XMod Pro, $150 value, more creative module kit, $125 value, or a module from Reflect Media Group, and of varying values. So, not that it varies, but you know.
I see what you're doing here.
Yeah. No, it varies depending on the time of day, how good it is. No, so he actually sells stuff for less expensive than we do. So that's why it is a varying value. Price value is not good. I should use the word price. A different price than what we have. You're gonna give away a module.
Less expensive.
Less expensive. There we go. It is the value of it, of course, is limited or limitless.
Oh my gosh!
I gotta lay off the eggnog, man.
That was fun.
In my mind, I was going, "Don't say limited. Don't say limited. Don't say limited."
Somebody just mute Kelly. Let's just end this.
Yeah, I'll pick up. I'll turn around. If you win, you should choose the Orphan X. It is the most fantastic piece of magic ever created, and it just happens to be built inside of XMod Pro. It in itself is a wonderful time saver, and I've had many clients ask for this type of thing in the past. It has a limitless value that is beyond measure.
You're awesome, Ryan. See, this works.
All right, good-natured. You guys go. You did very well, unlike me. Go have some.
I'm gonna go shave.
You look better in that, actually. I think I like you in white hair. Roy, thank you for joining us.
Sure.
Again, why don't we go through and Roy, tell everybody how they can contact you if they would like a project done.
Yeah, I'm
what you do
located. Sure, PinePointCreative.com, and you can reach me there, and so yeah, I think that's it.
So you do several things, right? You don't just do XMod Pro development. What else do you do?
No, I do everything as far as wear a lot of hats. Do both design, logo design, basic website setup. I'm more front end. I'm not the. That's why I'm going to Patrick. I'm going to plug your book again. I'm telling you, that's my holiday project. Dig into this more, and I've just learned so much from you guys. I appreciate that, but. Yeah, I do a lot of mostly front end stuff. Do a design, walk people through, and I do video production. I'm a musician, and I found a lot of musicians and creative people on in web development and specifically DNN. It's pretty cool. But
I agree completely. Almost every single person that I know that's running their own development shop, they are every one of the musical drums, guitar,
drummer here.
Everything is here. It is same.
Exactly. It's amazing. It's uncanny how many people are creative in that sense too, and both and musicians especially, and then of course the visual arts, photographers, and video and stuff like that. So it's just I guess it goes with the territory, but yeah, that's what I do. So it's jack of all trades, master of absolutely none. So so that's where I'm at.
All right, Patrick, how can people get a hold of you?
Well, I'm not really sure. I don't know if I should answer any of your questions. But you can.
You should have said the possibilities were limitless.
Yeah, the ways to reach me are limitless. You can reach me at discoverxmodpro.com, reflectmediagroup.com, locallivingads.com. Find me on DNNDev floating around. Just there you go. But or give me a call. My personal cell phone is. Let me find Kelly's number. Hang on a second.
Yeah, while you're at it, give him my social security number. Yeah. I will say that Patrick is one of our most esteemed members of the .NET Nuke DNN. See, I'm doing it again. The DNNDev.com community. I know everybody knows you there and can get a hold of you there. You've been a big help for a lot of people for a long time. Is that better? Does that make it better?
Yeah, I'll get over it.
And Ryan, how can people get a hold of you?
We are morecreative.com. That's 2 O's, like in my last name. And we have a lot of different relationships with ad agencies, marketing firms, other development companies. Main point is that everybody on our team has different skill sets, and we all play well with others. So always a pleasure to come on to other people's projects and help out where we can.
All right. That will wrap us up. I am Kelly Ford, joined by Melinda, who looks fetching in her hat today. She probably looks better than all of us in our hats. Although I am fond of this little guy here. He's kind of cute. And you can find us, of course, at DNNDev.com, here on Google+, at DNNDev on Twitter, and plus DNNDev on Google, and DNNDev. We actually have a Facebook page, too, so you can get in contact with us everywhere. And we will wrap things up. Be sure to give us your email, either on this page, in the chat, or just make sure you have watched our video, or this video, while you've been logged in to Google+, so we can see who you are and give you a message if you win. And we'll be giving away those three prizes. So I wish you well. I wish you a joyous Christmas and holiday season and a wonderfully happy New Year. Thanks.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Yes, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.